Hey y'all, it's Katie. Welcome back to From My Vanity and welcome to the much anticipated, long overdue Dupe or Dud You Be the Judge video comparing the KVD Metal Matte Palette to the dupe that is the Okalan, I think it's a natural palette. It's kind of hard to make it out, but I want to say it was called the natural, but as it's probably pretty darn obvious, this is trying to be a dupe for the KVD Metal Matte Palette. So I got this Okalan dupe at the beginning of the year. I did a Hush haul. I can leave it linked up here in the cards if you all want to go watch that. But it was like in January or February that I got this palette. That's my son Gideon. And I have been testing them out this past month, doing looks on each of the eyes. If I saved any of the looks that I did, I know I saved one because I actually took pictures on my camera. But whatever I do have, I'll go ahead and put up here as I'm talking so you guys can see the other looks that I did. And then obviously I have the look on my eyes today. I have one of the palettes on one eye and then the other on the other eye. Per usual with my Dupe or Dud You Be the Judge series, I'm not going to tell you which one it is until we get into the tutorial. But go ahead, pause the video right here and leave a comment down below which eye do you think is the KVD side and which eye do you think is the dupe, the Okalan dupe side. If you are new to my Dupe or Dud You Be the Judge series, I do want to go over a couple things just so you are aware and you get the whole picture and you get all of the content that I am bringing together for this Dupe or Dud video where I'm battling these two out. So most of my Dupe or Dud where I really compare the two are going to be over on my blog, and I will have a link at the top of the description box for you to find if you want to go over there and look. I break it down pretty minutely. I have a system now where I kind of give you price comparisons, information on each of them, how much each of them, like product each of them has, and then I go through all the similarities between the palettes, and then I go through all the differences between the palettes, and then I give you an overall summary at the end what my opinion is on the palette and if I think they are a dupe or not. In this video though, I am just doing an eye look and demonstrating one on one eye, the other on the other eye, so you guys can see them being used like live and on camera so that you can determine if you think that these are good dupes or not, which is where the series title has come from. So yeah, I hope that all makes sense. If you want to get the nitty gritty, talking about each of the similarities, each of the differences, and what my overall thoughts are, definitely read my blog. But if you just want to see me use them live in person, you just want to see on camera with your own eyes and determine for yourself if you think they're dupe or duds, just keep watching. If you want to see arm swatches of these two swatched side by side, check out my blog. They'll be there. So yeah, that is everything I wanted to share with you. Let's just go ahead and jump right into it and get into the tutorial, the side by side comparison tutorial using both of these palettes right now. Alright, so I'm going to start out with the Bone shade from the two palettes and just set my, I'm going to set all of my eyeshadow today, I think. Yeah, I'm going to set everything with the Bone shade. And for the Bone shade. So I'm going to have, I think I'm going to have the KVD on the left side and then the Okalan on my right. And for the Okalan side, I'm going to use the Smashbox all over eyeshadow brush like this. And then for the KVD side, I'm going to use this old brush. It's a Soho brush. I bought this like 6-7 years ago, so I cannot remember what it's called and it's been discontinued, but they're very similar in like size and width and all that jazz. Oh, before I started this, I put down my eyeshadow primer. I used the Lorac Behind the Scenes. And then I also put down a concealer. So I think to start to warm up my crease shade, I'm going to take Feather in the KVD palette just kind of to start to warm it up and just to use something a little bit different than I typically would, like a brown in my crease. And I'm going to use the Mirabella Eye Blender. I'll use that on the KVD side, and then the Sigma Tapered E40 I'm going to use on the Okalan side, and they're pretty much the same kind of brush. So this is a really light shade to begin with, so I just kind of want it to, not as my crease shade, but just to start to warm up and help give it a transition shade because I am going to be playing with the blue in the palette. I actually have not used that on my eyes yet from either of these palettes. Alright, so there we go, and honestly, like, they're both pretty darn like light, but I don't feel like any one is like more or less pigmented than the other. I think they both showed up really nicely, so yeah, no complaints there. So I think we're just gonna jump right in. I'm terrified. We're just going to jump in and go into the Velour shade in the KVD palette and the Okalan, the dupe too, but we're going to go into the blue, the like bright cobalt blue in this palette. On the KVD side, I'm going to use the Stilazzi L211 brush, and then on the Okalan side, I'll use the Morphe M433 brush. All right, let's just go for it. I used this shade recently in my recreating Lauren Mae Beauty's eye look that she did using, she used a different palette, but I used this blue. She did a palette bingo and I wanted to recreate the look. But I used it as more of like a pointed pack-on shade. I haven't really used it blending like this, so definitely shears out a good bit, which is probably good. That'll give me a nice transition. And then I'm gonna pack it onto the outer corner and then just kind of blend up. I'm being pretty sloppy with my lid area because I am going to do a cut crease today. Like that. I do feel like it's a tiny bit patchy, but honestly, blues, whenever I deal with matte blues, I always have issues with patchiness, and from people I follow, I feel like that's not uncommon. I feel like it's just a little patchy right there, like a couple dots where it's not sticking, and maybe I just didn't set it properly, but we're just gonna go for now. I'm pretty sure the patchiness will be covered when I do the cut crease. All right, now going into the Okalan side. Oof, lots of pigment. Kat Von D has a lot of pigment too, but I feel like this has more. This is definitely, in my experience with other shadows, you know, creating other looks with it before this, it's more powdery than the Kat Von D side. But with that said, it's powdery without the pigment sticking, because like I feel like now there's like very little pigment on my eye, but like it's all on my cheek. Okay, so something I've noticed with this blue is that I can't build it up anymore. Besides that, like with this one, it, you know, kind of blended out and got patchy and sheer, but I kept putting it on the one spot and it built up. This one, I feel like I've spent a while pressing it on, and as soon as I get a little bit of pigment, like it disappears. Like I feel like that looks the same as when I just put more on. So we're just gonna have to keep going. That's definitely a big issue though. Oh my goodness, the fallout. But that's definitely an issue with this blue one that I'm noticing from the Okalan palette dupe, is that the blue is just not wanting to stick. Okay, so now I want to go into the Nebula shade, which is the blue. Oh, and I'm using the e.l.f. Cosmetics, the professional eyeshadow brushes. They're $1 brushes. I have 2 of them, so I use 1 for each. But I'm going to press that onto the outer corner, and I might even do it wet just because these two are pretty much the same shade. And I'm wanting to give a little depth to this look without using black. I really don't want to use black today. That gives a little bit. Let me try it wet. And then now going into Nebula in the Okalan palette, I'm gonna try it first by itself, just so, since I did that to the Kat Von D side. Ooh, that sprayed everywhere. Try to press it on more. I got a ton of fallout from that, but it's going on. It's definitely helping the, I think it's helping the patchiness here, but I still see a patch right here that doesn't want to build up. I think you guys can see that on camera. But let me go ahead and spray this. Just gonna blend a little bit. Because once again, like this one, I felt like I placed it and it just kind of blended seamlessly because I was able to build up that blue. But this side is just not working out well. And I'm planning to take my daughter to the library after this. So I'd really like to not look too ridiculous. Okay, so before I tried the blue in this dupe palette, I actually wasn't very mad at the Okalan dupe. I was like, oh, it's pretty good. It's, I mean, a little different, but at least you can get them to be similar and it's not, doesn't take too much work. But oh my gosh, if you want the Okalan palette to create blue looks for duping the MetalMatte palette, nope. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Oh my gosh, I feel like such a mess right now. Oh, this is the right one. Oh my word. Okay, we're just gonna keep going because I wanted to see the fallout comparison between these two, and I feel like this face is going to be covered. We're going to keep going, and let's go ahead and take some glitter glue. I'll go ahead and use the Nyx Glitter Primer. On this little flat, it's the Wet n Wild like concealer brush or something, but I just wanted to take that, and we're going to use the primer because I know for the Kat Von D side and just using the Okalan in the past, it really needs a glitter glue to keep the metallics, that formula, it transfers everywhere if I don't. Because if you don't, it like transfers almost instantly. It's so soft. Then we're gonna go into Tinsel, which is this shade right there. I have two, what are these? Sigma Concealer F70 brushes. I'm gonna be using one for each eye. Since I have two of them, that makes it easy. Tinsel is the softest shade in the Kat Von D MetalMatte palette. And we'll come back to blend it into the blue in a minute, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other side with the Okalan palette now. And then going in with the same F70 from Sigma, the Tinsel shade in Okalan dupe. I think there's definitely a color difference here. Tinsel in the Kat Von D is just a lot brighter. Not my favorite type of shimmer metallic kind of formula to work with because I feel like it emphasizes, like it can easily cake on too heavy in a spot like this. I feel like this type of formula with a shimmer, my favorite type of formula, is one that, you know, you glide on, even if you pack it on, it still like blends out and lays down nicely. Whereas I feel like this is wanting to, like where I lay it right here, it's wanting to kind of build up and get too thick and chunky there. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh. It looks like two different color eyes. Shoot, I have to go to the library. Okay, let's just continue. I'm going to grab those eyeshadows again for the Nebula shade. And I'm going to use that to just go back over and try to mesh the two together. Just for full disclosure though, I do want to say that this is the most trouble I've had in like duping or like creating looks with the Okalan palette side by side with the Kat Von D. This is honestly the most trouble I've had, so maybe it's a little unfair because I'm picking the blues, and that I think out of this palette, honestly, like I've tried every other color, none of them were as difficult as this, so keep that in mind. But at least you guys get to see the most difficult one in the bunch. Okay, so at this time I'm going to do my eyeliner. I'm just going to take the NYX Matte Liquid Liner and wing it out real quick, and then we'll come back and finish it up. Alright, so there's the wings. I have a baby wipe. I am going to, I guess I'll do this side first since it's the worst. Try to clean this up, and then we can finish off the eyes. So much for doing my concealer in the inner corner. It's tinted blue, which kind of defeats the purpose of concealer. Okay, so this is where we are at, as you guys can see. Definitely that Tinsel shade is very different from one palette to the other, so I feel like that's making me look a little ridiculous, but oh well. As far as like the blend here, I still don't like how this side blended. If you guys can see that, and I'll get up close and give you guys close-up shots. This blend is a lot nicer, at least in my eyes, looking at it on camera. I'm not the best when it comes to blending, so I know it's not that good, but for me, this blend is a lot nicer than this one. I'm just gonna go back into the bone shade with the two brushes that I used at the beginning and try to lighten it up. Alright, so now I'm going to use the Sigma E30 pencils. I have two of them, so I'm going to use one for each eye. And I'm going to go in the shade, I think, Ribbon. Blow it off. I want to use purple. No, actually, you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to use the moss, the green, right here, because I feel like where that yellow and blue mixed, it was starting to turn green. So I feel like putting moss underneath and just kind of having a green lower lash line will look really nice and kind of tie in the whole look. I was thinking of doing purple just to like complement but still add a pop of another color, but we're gonna go for moss. Oh shoot, I just used a Kat Von D on this side. Sorry. Okay, Kat Von D is on this side, Katie. Hello. Now I don't have any concealer on over here, so keep that in mind. I definitely feel like concealer helps to give it some pigmentation. Yeah, I'm not super impressed with this. You know, I'm gonna put a bit of primer. I'm gonna just take the Smashbox 24-hour eyeshadow primer. I'm sorry if I look like I'm being rough. I probably am, but I'm trying to hurry. Gideon's gonna wake up soon. Okay, so now that that's on there, give it a second to set. Okay, it's set. Let's go on with green. I'd never noticed how subdued. Well, I didn't realize before how subdued the Metal Matte was. Because when I first got it, this palette was like such a bold and colorful eyeshadow palette in my eyes. But now that I've been playing with more color and just wanting to get into more color, like, these colors are pretty, like, tame. Like, they're not like, you know, yes, it has purple, blue, and green, but they're all very muted. And I never realized that until now. Okay, so I'm using the right one. This is the Okalan side that I dipped into. Wasn't that really nice? Definitely powderier because I'm feeling it, like the powder kick up into my eyeball a little bit. So that's not exactly pleasant, but pigmentation is good. Okay, so that's that. Let me grab a black for my waterline. You know what? I always grab black. I'm gonna go grab Flower Vinyl Eyes as a glossy gel eyeliner and Serpent, a green. Okay, let's go ahead and do the inner corner, and then I'm going to break and finish up the rest of my makeup. I'm gonna take Glitz, which is this shade right here. I'm gonna take that from both of the palettes and put it on my inner corner as my inner corner highlight. Oh, and for the brush I'm using the e.l.f. concealer brush. I have 2 of them, so doing one for each eye. Okay, so this side is definitely the Glitz in the Okalan. Maybe not. Just in person, I feel like it's not as reflective as the Glitz in the Kat Von D, but they're pretty darn close. And I'm actually gonna take this and I just wiped this off on my hand real quick, but I wanna take a little bit of Ignite. It's like a greenish shade, and I wanna use that actually on the same brush, so just a small tiny brush, and I actually wanna use it under here because it's green. But I wanna use it to blend into the lower lash line a little bit. And I just wanna use another color to show you guys. I think that's cool. I don't usually do shimmer and stuff on the lower lash line, but this is the Okalan side. It's also really pretty. Like the Glitz and not as chunky as the Pencil shade, like so. There we go. It's kind of fun. I like it. Okay, so yeah, as I said, I'm going to pause here and go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup, do mascara, and then just give you the wrap up for the video. So we will be right back. So here is the completed look. As you can tell, I'm gonna be sticking close up so you can really see up close. But the tinge, I feel like, is the most obvious difference in just a color tone. But besides that, I feel like overall, they look pretty darn similar, and I got them to work. Now, are they easy to work with? You saw me struggling in the video. I would say the blue is not easy to work with, but in general, just going from my experience using all the other shades, I would say that besides the blue, you can get looks to work with the Okalan palette. And if you're curious, I have the Pixi by Petra, what are these called? MatteLast Liquid Lip and Matte Beige on my lips. So yeah, that is gonna do it for this Dupe or Dead, You Be the Judge. I'm gonna be sticking a poll up here, and I will be very curious to see what you deem this is. Do you think that the Okalan palette is a dupe for the Kat Von D? Yes or no? Let me know. And also let me know in the comments, does it bother you that dupe palettes can often just be a lot trickier to use, like that blue in this palette? Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe how much I struggled with it. Let me know your preferences. Do you want them to be like exact down to the formula, just as good as the high end, or do you make, do you make excuses? Not make excuses, but do you, give it grace considering it is so much cheaper than the high-end version? I would love to hear. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you want to hear my thoughts and just go really in depth on the similarities and differences, and really I'll be able to talk to you more about like each of the shadows, which one I struggled with, which one I thought were very different from the tone, and you'll also be able to see side-by-side swatches of these two swatched next to each other. Definitely check out my blog. I will leave the link down below. But yeah, that'll do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye guys.